There we go, buddy.
All right, welcome back to POFO Community Need for Justice. I'm Apostle Cecil Hatchett, and today we got a really wonderful show. We're going to speak about several different things, but I know last week we spoke about this African gentleman who was just recently on the show. He got his picture up and everything, and he's on the Portland Tribune, and all you people out there that are interested in the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, the information is directed toward him and the problems that he had generated for himself. And I just want to let all you people out there in TV land know that we go after people, and we go after people strong, and we tell the truth because we're always interested in the truth. And today as well, our brother Broussard and myself, we have this wonderful gentleman here with us. Want to introduce yourself to the people out there in TV land?
My name's Art Robinson, and I'm running for Congress in District 4.
Amen. So we have Mr. Art Robinson, and he's running for congressman, and he's going to share some really very fabulous information with all you people out there in TV land. And I like people to repeat their own name so you people won't be misconfiguring or misconstruing his information or things that will come out of his mouth, because he speaks very well and he's a wonderful individual. And we're here today, and he's going to let all you people out there know he's very astute when it comes to, would you tell them about the article regarding sickle cells and various other things that he's familiar with? And he's going to just touch a lot of different subject matters.
Let me add a couple of things.
So go ahead, Brother Bruce.
Let me add a couple of things. One, like Cecil had made mention about the fact about the Portland Tribune aspect of it.
Absolutely.
That was the guy, the entity we were talking about was the commission race, Multnomah County, and the gentleman was Charles McGee.
Yes.
And we talked about the issue that was out there, and the idea was because of this show, the Tribune suggested that they should run the story.
Yes, very
so
true.
You can pick this particular issue up now. It's in the newsstand, and again, the Portland Tribune is free. It's free, and basically, what my point is, the reason why it's so important, you need to know what the facts are all about.
Absolutely.
The facts are printed right here, etc., etc.
Yes.
Because initially, in all due respect, they thought we were lying.
That's what they were thinking.
They were challenging it from them, and we've asked him to come on.
Yes.
Like he's still come on.
Yes. Yeah.
He
Everyone's welcome.
He can still come on
the
if he
show.
wants to, right?
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? Because this is an issue, and we were all supported. I mean, I'm supporting. I know Charles is. I'm sorry that Cecil is. We're supportive of trying to get any black African American to run for office. We need leadership in this community, because that's one of the problems we have. Is a lack of leadership, and it's hard to run for office. It takes money. It takes all kinds of stuff. And so the idea is to use this vehicle here that we have here at Public Access to get your views out. But the one thing you got to remember, if you're running for office, anybody that's running for office, you got to identify with the job description.
Absolutely, yes.
You just can't get there with I'm just a popular guy.
Yes.
No,
you can't do that.
Because they got to understand as a voter and a taxpayer.
Absolutely.
That makes me the employer.
Absolutely. Yes, it does.
That's the way it's supposed to work.
Exactly. That's the way it's supposed to. Government of the people, by the people, for the people. And so we got issues, and so they have to identify with that. So that's why it's important. That's why I'm throwing this out on the front end. This is not about no personality kind of a routine, attacking him specifically. No. The fact of the matter is we need leadership. He's running for an area where a number of the voting public out here happens to be black.
Yes.
And that is too often we get the negative side of folks running, et cetera, and then we get all to blame. Because in all due respect, we were to blame.
Yes, we were.
Initially. Now this is just laying it out up front, straight up.
And that's exactly what we're doing. We're just putting the stuff right in your face to see the truth.
So get a copy of this Tribune. It's again, like I said, it's on the stand right now, and then you can read it for yourself.
Sure.
And then if you have a problem with it, call the paper.
Call the paper.
Yeah, or if not that, you can come on here.
You can come on.
But make sure if you're coming on here, have your facts ready.
Absolutely.
I know what Cecil's going to do. He's going to say, where are your facts?
Absolutely.
And share it, right? Okay. Now, on the other side, in regards to Art, and all due respect, I've supported Art in the past. He's run for office, for that office in that area. He's from Southern Oregon.
Yes.
He's from Southern Oregon, and you know, he's out there in that farm area aspect of it. You know,
Yes.
we've been having issues with reference to child labor and this, that, and the other. When kids were picking up berries, if you will, you know, for school and this, that, and the other.
That's true.
And now we don't do that in this state. Somebody came in there and wiped that all out. You can't pick up anything. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, but the bottom line is that Charles also, I'm sorry, but Art also brought some other issues to the table that really interest me, because he's running against DeFazio, somebody I've been trying to call in the past to try to come and interview, you know, kind of get a sense, because he was a senior congressperson, but he never showed up. So I found Art. Art was running for office, but he brought some other goodies to the table. And because he brought the other about sickle cell, you know, that's an issue that's really something that identifies with black folks.
That's true. That's
and
very
boy,
true.
I tell you, and Art, when he laid it out from the standpoint, from a historical standpoint, that he worked, if you will, on this issue with some folks, and he, besides just working and sharing with the folks how he got involved in the sickle cell deal, we also asked him whether or not he'd be able to do some of the similar kind of deal of picking up urine. You know, we did a whole show on that whole piece.
Absolutely.
And then the idea is that I called up the Urban League to see whether or not they'd would like to participate, because, you know, that's where most of the African American seniors are, and they turned me down.
Yes.
I mean, that's insulting.
That's true.
See me?
That's true.
But now all of a sudden, you know, I mean, now he's coming here today, and I'm so glad he's on your show, because I'm gonna do a piece on my show also too. He's also been doing some other experiment with other issues. Got me?
That's true.
I mean, wow. I mean, something heavy.
Fabulous.
And so the name of the game is that we have him here today, and he'll share that with us. But I wanted to let you know, and I want the viewing audience to know the kind of person we're talking to, who happens to be running for office.
Yes, very
You know what I mean?
true.
That's a very, very important piece. Now that is leadership.
Yes,
that's the kind of person we want, as far as I'm concerned, in Congress.
Yes, absolutely.
As opposed to just something that traditionally somebody's encumbered and blah 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 routine. You see, we don't have term limits, and I know where Art feels on that piece. He feels just as strong as I am. If you're not doing the job, you need to leave it up. So either come up with some form of term limit or something, but you got to be doing something that benefits the people.
Yes.
And that's what I got from Art Robinson, and that's why I'm so excited and so proud to feel so comfortable of knowing him and knowing the kind of a person he is. This is the kind of person that's running for that position. District number 4 against DeFazio up in Southern Oregon. So with that, I'm just going to throw it on the Art now and let him tell us about some of the things he's doing.
As you mentioned, I'm a scientist, and right now we have one scientist in Congress. There are 435 people, one scientist. I think 2 would be a good idea. You know, we ought to have people from all walks of life. But you were asking about sickle cell anemia.
Right.
And that interests me because I worked with the men who discovered the cause of sickle cell anemia. I didn't do it. They did this a few years before I first knew them. But sickle cell anemia is, of course, very common among black people. And the reason is that if you carry one of the genes, you have to carry both genes to be sick. But if you carry one of the genes, it confers immunity to malaria. And malaria was so common and so devastating in Africa that there was an advantage to actually carrying a sickle cell gene. Even though those who have 2 genes are terribly sick and live very short lives with great suffering. But in the 1950s, Linus Pauling, John Singer, and Harvey Atano, Harvey and John working in Pauling's lab, discovered that sickle cell anemia is caused by a mutation in the hemoglobin molecule that carries oxygen in your blood. And this causes the molecules to stick together and distorts the hemoglobin structure, the red cell structure, so it can't go through small blood vessels. So all your tissues out at the periphery are starved of oxygen. And it's a devastating disease. It was the first molecular disease ever discovered, ever demonstrated. And it demonstrated that you could have a disease because there was a genetic problem. It was the first time it was ever done. And I worked with Singer and with Pauling a lot for 15 years. The work that Pauling and I did together, it would maybe interest you, but we started this in 1968. But we worked on it for a long time. We did several things, even things on nuclear structure, but this was on health. And our idea was that we wanted a tool that was so cheap and easy to use that everyone could have it. You didn't have to go to the doctor, and that it would warn you about health conditions in such a way that you could take action before you were ill. And our idea was to measure a large number of chemical substances in your urine, things that are there because your body produces them in the process of either making things you need or byproducts of doing that. And the technology in the 1960s and 70s when we did this, measurement technology was fairly primitive, but we did a lot. But now we've made a tremendous breakthrough, helped by the people of Oregon. We want to see diseases before the person knows he's sick. But in order to do that, we have to have samples from him before he knows he's sick. So we have 5,000 Oregonians who send regular urine samples to our laboratory, and we store them cryogenically, very low temperature so they don't change. And then we follow these people, and when they have the misfortune to have a health problem, we look to see if we could have seen it ahead of time. And we just this year published a paper. The machinery we use now, due to developments that we instituted, can now measure 4,000 substances in a urine sample in 2 minutes.
Wow.
And 1,000 of those are produced by your metabolism. So using that and samples from this sample bank from the volunteers, we showed that we could predict that an individual was going to have a heart attack before he knew he had heart disease. Or predict that a person was going to have breast cancer before they had any symptoms. And we just published that information. And it's going to extrapolate to other things. There's several important things. First, those things, but this technique will probably do all diseases. These are the ones we got, see, because heart disease and breast cancer are very common, we got sets of samples of those from the bank first. But in addition, it's a 2-minute analysis. So if industry, eventually on the basis of the research, were to set this up, you might put a drop of your urine on a piece of cloth and put it in an envelope with a 50-cent stamp and send it in and get your results back on the internet in a couple of days for a cost of $5.
Wow.
Well, if you can do this for $5 or $10, now you don't have to wait till you're so sick that you're willing to go to the doctor where you or your insurance or someone must pay a lot of money. You can watch your health. You'll be able to watch your health ahead of time at very low cost so that everyone can do it. And if you see a developing problem, like the ones we discovered here, first you can maybe change your lifestyle a little bit and do things to try to slow it down. And in addition, you know it's there, and if you seek medical help, you can get that medical help way early compared to what you could have. Just this one here, when you, with 90% reliability, we can tell just from the research so far which men and women are going to have heart attacks.
Wow.
Well, if you warn them, then they can do simple things like they could keep a defibrillator in their home. Man's warned, his wife has a defibrillator, she watches him, and maybe when he falls from the heart attack, she can revive him and send him to the hospital. Instead, he just dies. So there are a lot of things you can do, and a lot of heart attacks are without warning. So this could save a lot of lives already. But the main idea is that because we now have techniques to measure thousands of things at very fast, at very low cost, eventually you'll be able to know about any problem that's developing in your health, and you will have a measuring device so that if you take measures, suppose you change your diet or exercise or do something that people know has an effect, you can keep watching yourself at low cost to see if it's improving. For example, we know that in mice, cancer grows much more slowly with some diets than others. So if you detected that you were developing cancer, you might change to that diet and try to slow it down before you got the disease.
That's interesting.
But this is, we've made substantial advancements in the technology, and of course, technology advances because of many people's different efforts. And now to have a device that in 2 minutes can measure 4,000 things gives us an extremely powerful tool to predict what's going to happen to a person's health and give him that information so that he can preclude illness or at least fight illness before it gets too bad.
So Art, where does this go from here?
Well, we continue with the sample bank. In our case, we just do research.
Right.
So we continue to have our sample bank. It will continue to give us sample sets on more and more rare diseases. It takes longer to accumulate a set for the diseases in common. And then we keep improving the technology and the calculation methods and so forth. So we will continue to improve this method. and publish, as we do in the open literature. And it's free to anyone. We don't have any commercial interest in it. We do research. This is supported by nonprofit foundation donations. We don't take any tax money. The government would tell you what experiments to do. So we are supported by donations. We'll continue to develop the research, and companies that have the ability to maybe offer this to the public will watch those papers, and when they get to a point where they say, hey, we could offer this to the public, then that'll be done.
I got you.
And I think it won't be many years before you can get this.
Is that right?
You see, we did this on 5 microliters of urine. That's a tiny, tiny drop.
Wow.
So you could have a little thing you pick up at the drugstore with a little bit of fabric on it, put a drop of urine on it, let it dry, throw it in a normal envelope, and mail it to the laboratory.
Gee whiz, gee whiz.
And the laboratory is fully automated, could put those samples up in front of the machine fast.
Wow.
So it'd be 2 or 3 minutes per sample.
Wow.
So although the machines are sophisticated, they could measure samples so fast that they wouldn't have to cost much.
Wow.
But this is a dream that Linus and I and our colleagues started working on
achieve that
50 years ago.
Well, tell me this: what about when you say sickle cell and this situation here? Are you still looking at taking in samples? Are you still looking?
Oh yes, yeah.
Are you still
and
looking?
We
doing
take
that?
in volunteers.
You do?
Yeah, we have a little.
How
flyer.
do you do that?
They just have to send a note to our laboratory saying they'd like to volunteer, and then we send them a kit with the vials in it.
Okay.
So they send it to the Oregon Institute of Science and Medicine, which you can find on the internet, an address if you want.
Okay.
I can tell you it's
But
Box 1250, Cave Junction, but people don't remember those things.
Yeah.
But if you remember Oregon Institute of Science and Medicine, you can
Frank,
find it.
mention, she'll just go on and put it on the screen now. What's the address?
Well,
just mention it slowly.
It's P.O. Box 1250, 1250,
125.
Cave Junction, Oregon.
Cave.
Cave
Cave
Junction. That's
Cave
our
Junction.
tourist attraction.
Cave Junction.
Cave Junction, Oregon, 97523.
Okay.
And if they forget, if you can remember Oregon Institute of Science and Medicine, it's on the internet. And if you forget that, look up Robinson for Congress. I got it on my website.
You got it on the
too.
website?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's even easier. There.
I'm especially pleased with this because I've run against Mr. DeFazio before, and he tells a lot of funny stories about the things I didn't know about myself, you know, a lot of things that aren't true. But one of the things he's been doing for years now is ridiculing our research. He says, I'm just a crazy person who collects urine.
Give me this.
Now we understand why.
Right there. Yeah, put that. That's important. Put that in there.
Okay.
You got it right there. Okay.
Here's the
Just
paper.
keep talking.
Well, he's going to put it on.
Get that one.
So I've been in, since DeFazio went after my research, I've been in quite a few patriotic parades where his people are shouting at me from the sidelines, hey Art, you want some of our pee?
Oh my, gee.
And they put it out as evidence that Art Robinson's crazy. Well, Linus Pauling wasn't crazy.
Wow.
Neither were our colleagues. And now this shows what a powerful technique this
Wow, that is
and
powerful.
it can have a great effect on
That is
preventive
powerful.
medicine. We're very, very privileged to be able to do this work.
Well, in all due respect, we're gonna go back and see if we can call up the Urban League and see if we can get them back to the table.
Very, very important.
Because this really would be significant, if
Yes.
you will,
Well,
especially to everybody for that matter. But in this particular case, those African Americans.
When I got my degree, I was put on the faculty at UC San Diego, and then we worked at Stanford and then other places. But I thought to myself, this is wonderful. I get to play all my life, and people are going to pay me for it.
That's
Because I love the research.
Right.
That was basic research.
Right.
And we do a lot of that. But then I thought a little more responsibly. I said, you know, I ought to do something for the people that are paying for it. So I decided we would do half our work on medical things that could help people, and half have fun in the laboratory on basic research. And this was the half on medical people.
Really?
We also do work on the growth rate of cancer as a function of nutrition. It's a different kind of work. But this has been our main focus for 50 years. And,
50 years?
50 years.
The idea was, we had the idea in 1968.
Wow. All right.
But just now, partly as a result of our work, the technology has gotten good enough to make the measurements in a practical way.
Yes.
And now, because the good people of Oregon have been volunteering their urine and health information,
Yes.
we're able to calibrate the device.
Wow, wow, wow. Now, do you share that information with those folks, those 5,000?
We're not permitted to.
What? You're not what?
No, we're allowed to publish. See, this is published.
That's published.
But the bureaucrats have got it so that you cannot use a device which is not approved medically, and you cannot practice medicine without a license and without approval. So one of the reasons it will take a very large corporation to deliver this to people is that they will have to pay the tens, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars required to get approval to offer this to the public.
To save lives.
Yeah. So we're doing this, but and he gave him our flyer. The flyer very carefully tells the volunteer that we will not be able to tell him anything about his health.
Oh, wow.
Because if we did, we'd be practicing medicine without a license.
And then they'll...
using a device that is not approved. The device is 1,000 times more powerful than those that are approved, but somebody's going to have to spend a fortune
just to
with
get
the bureaucrats before they will approve this. And but until then, you don't dare tell anybody about their results.
Well, that's why we're interested in interviewing you, because you're running for Congress.
Yeah.
That's very,
See,
very true.
you'll be sitting up there, and that'll probably give you another...
I'm allowed to look at my own sample.
There you go.
That's very true.
And I'm okay.
You're okay.
Yes, you're 100% okay.
But the unfortunately, and that is a great impediment
Wow.
to the advance of medicine.
Wow.
It's the administrative state that has grown so strong and so powerful. It interacts with our lives in every way, from the local bureaucrat that tells you whether you can fix your plumbing, to the federal bureaucrats who tell you what medicine you're allowed to have. And that's why we don't use tax money in our research, because then the bureaucrats would tell us what research to do, and they'd never allowed us to do this.
That's true.
Well, we're right in the midst of this whole opioid situation, with all the pills people are taking, if you will.
And billions of dollars.
Billions and billions of dollars.
Well, you know how it is. You have something important, like education, medical research, and it's good. And the people do wonderful things, and men and women have discovered all kinds of things that have improved our lives. And the government comes along and says, well, we'll fund that. We'll take care of it. And then they get control of the money, and then they get control of what's being done. So pretty soon they're telling you what to do. And then an army of bureaucrats is hired. And all these bureaucrats tell you what to do. First thing you know, an honest man can't work unless the bureaucrats let him. And scientists have trouble doing what they think is best because the bureaucrats control them. The educational system, we have hundreds of thousands of wonderful teachers, but they're also inhibited now by the bureaucrats. And the education system goes downhill. And first thing you know, the bureaucrats are getting 2/3 of the monies.
True.
And the people doing the work are getting 1/3. And they can't even do what they want with the 1/3 because the bureaucrats are telling them what to do. That's one of the reasons our education system's so bad.
Well, that's another good point to you, because we were talking about this small talk about what you had been doing.
Let me give you an
education.
example.
Okay,
in
go
education.
on.
When I was going to school, there was no homeschooling.
Right.
Because the schools were great. We had the best schools in the world.
Right.
Now it's all changed. Now you can always pick a bad example. Some schools thrive because very dedicated people manage to do it regardless of impediments. But in Washington, D.C., we have 50,000 students in the D.C. schools. 67% of them are black. And those schools cost the taxpayers $450,000 per year per classroom.
Gee.
Now, 3/4 of that money never reaches the classroom.
Right.
It stops with the bureaucrats.
Right.
But the important thing is most of those students graduate from high school not able to read.
That's true.
Now, the D.C. schools, Congress can say, well, it's not a state matter. In D.C., the U.S. Congress controls the schools. It controls D.C. It's not a state. So we've got 435 congressmen who walk around D.C. all dressed up in their fancy clothes, looking important, while the children of D.C. run around in the streets beneath their feet, unable to read. And some congressmen are very interested in that. They want to fix it. they pass laws to try to improve those schools. When they try to pass those laws, Pete DeFazio votes against them because he wants union support at election time. And the result is, not just comes to Pete because it's Congress, the result is in our nation's capital, we have the worst schools in our country.
Wow.
And that's where the Congress is. And when you run for office, I run for office, suddenly there's a newspaper, arts are racist. Anybody runs for office in this country practically, these are racist. I think doing that to those 50,000 kids in Washington, D.C. is one of the most racist things in our country. And the taxpayers are paying the 450,000. Well, this thing afflicts everything. It afflicts science. 2/3 of the money goes to bureaucrats, 1/3 to the scientists. It affects everything because the state has grown so strong and powerful. And that's why it's very hard to know what party you should align with when you run for office, because there's a lot of corruption in all the parties. But I chose to run as a Republican because they at least are a little better against these bureaucracies. But we have a problem where most of our politicians don't challenge the bureaucracy. They let it get worse and worse and worse because challenging it is not good at election time. If you challenge the bureaucracy, they say, well, if you challenge the educational bureaucracy and say, well, you got 3/4 of the money and people aren't getting educated, oh, you're against education.
Wow.
Well, you're not against education. You're for better education. But that's the way it works in politics, and unfortunately, that's
well, you know, on that same note that you were talking about in regards to the education piece, you did something happened to you in your lifetime with reference to raising your kids and whatever, that you reacted to the education aspect.
Well, we were,
share that, would you?
My wife was a scientist also, and we saw the degrading, not in all schools, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of teachers out there that are doing a good job and doing their best under poor circumstances. But we decided to homeschool our children. But my wife died when our 6 children were ages 12, 10, 8, 2 6s, and a 1 1/2. They were all little kids. And so I homeschooled them, but they developed a homeschool curriculum. Was kind of self-teaching because their father didn't have a lot of time to spend with it. And now our self-teaching curriculum has 60,000 students.
60,000 students.
They spread it around. You know,
they're constantly teaching.
Made a product out of it. They all have advanced degrees now, but they have this education project.
Advanced degrees in regards. I was very impressed.
One is a chemist, PhD at Caltech. Another one is three of them are nuclear engineers, and 2 of them are veterinarians.
All from homeschool.
Yeah. And so 5 of them have doctorates and 1 of them has a master's degree, and we all still work together.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
We have a lot
and
of
you're
fun.
offering this curriculum to the public at large?
Yeah, well, that's a business. I didn't come here to describe a business.
No, okay, right.
They pay for a set of CDs and tell us how to do it. There are many fine homeschool curriculums.
But they can go to your website, I guess. They can go to your website and they can see something
You
like
can find that under Robinson Curriculum.
Robinson Curriculum, okay.
That's not what I
Right.
And homeschooling, you know, there wouldn't be any if the schools were the same as they were 50 years ago. I went to the public schools. They were fantastic. Schools across this country were so good, there was no country in the world where the students could even match it. Now we're about 20th in the Western world, because, and that's because this administrative state, this bureaucracy has moved in, captured the majority of the money, and dictated that the schools be run in ways that are not beneficial to the students.
That's true.
That's one of the things I'd like to change but you see how this comes out in politics? Robinson's against education. We had a guy, a friend sent me a note. He says, you know, I called up DeFazio's office and I said, I understand Robinson's against education. Oh yeah, he says, Robinson's really against education. It's terrible. He says, well, if Robinson's against education, how come all his kids have doctorates?
True.
Like,
yeah,
they hung up the phone.
Yeah.
But the idea is, when you say you want to change something, to improve it, politically they say you want to end it. Social Security, you know, Social Security is a wonderful thing, and I propose that payments need to go up a little bit because they've lagged behind inflation. But I also wanted the money to be more secure. The way they use it, the Congress just spends it, and they shouldn't. They should save it for Social Security. And there were other improvements. So I wanted to improve that system. So I suggested improvements in Social Security. Well, DeFazio put billboards on Highway 5. Robinson wants to end Social Security.
Jesus.
Ridiculous. That's true.
In my picture, I'm saying I want to end Social Security. Well, the idea is that, well, because I want to change it a little, that ends it, you see. And that's something you face all the time. You see a candidate that says he's against something. Well, he may just want to improve it. I'd like to improve education, not end it. I'd like to improve Social Security, not end it. And that's just something you face everywhere.
But did you challenge this at all?
Oh, you can challenge it, but it's not easy. Even running for Congress, there are 350,000 households in District 4. So the congressman can send free, at taxpayers' expense, flyers to these people telling them how great he is. And if a lie is told, you have to communicate with 350,000 households.
Gee whiz.
That's expensive.
That's where the money comes
That's
in.
expensive. That's why money shouldn't determine politics. Issues should determine it.
Yes.
But unfortunately, to communicate with the voters, if a congressman with a lot of money will say to the voters that this man wants to take your Social Security away, it's not true. Well, just to say that it isn't true is a very expensive proposition, because you've got to communicate with all those people. Most of them are not watching television, and that's expensive too. So the politics has become largely controlled by money because of the difficulty of countering this sort of thing. And of course, if a congressman is entrenched, he won't debate you. He stays away from that because he just wants to communicate his story. It's difficult. Our Congress should be made up of people from all walks of life that have something to contribute. And we decided to run against Mr. DeFazio because he was harmful to the people in our district, and because there was only one scientist in Congress. We thought another scientist, it's a nice point of view.
Right.
I'm not saying scientists should run the country.
Well, you produce something. I mean,
scientists shouldn't run the country, but it doesn't hurt to have a few of them around.
Yes, right.
And
especially this stuff.
But I learned a lot about politics I never wanted to know.
Yeah.
And then I accidentally became chairman of the Republican Party for Oregon for one term, and that taught me even more about politics I didn't want to know. So, and you men face it every day. And you say to yourselves, you're right, you work, you've spent your lives at this, and you say to yourself, why is it that we can't get the message to people that fixes the problems in our country? Because they're not hard to fix. But hard to communicate, because so many self-interested people are out there using the political system in unprincipled ways. You caught this character. But most of them are harder to catch.
You know, I'm going to ask you real quick, like I was going to say to you, that when Art was the chairman of the Republican Party, I read this newspaper on a Sunday morning about him when he got the appointment. I was intrigued by it, so I called him up Sunday. And Monday he was at my place.
That's beautiful.
Right from Southern Oregon. He had like 5 or 6 hours. You know, he drove down. But the point is that
but I'm not advertising the Republican Party to you.
No, I know.
Because it's got a lot of problems
that's
too.
Right.
Believe
I know that. And that's why I wasn't there. I might have had the logo, but I wasn't there. But when I met him, then we talked. And next thing you know, he used, rather than use the word minority advocate, he called me an engagement chair.
Yes.
Totally different.
Yes.
It was very engaging everybody.
Yes.
Not just one particular group. See what I'm saying?
Beautiful.
Because we got all those fake groups out there. You know.
What always bothered me, they mean well. You know, the party will get somebody and they'll say this is going to have your job. They show up. They show up at a meeting of black people and they say, "I'm here to talk with you people."
Yeah.
What do you mean, you people? Those are Americans.
Yeah.
And suddenly, even though the person is well-meaning,
right,
it's really a racial matter, because they're looking at this group and saying this group is different. It's not different. I was talking about sickle cell anemia. Do you know how tiny amount of the human genome has anything to do with our skin color?
Right.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Right.
But and even well-meaning people, they say, well, we've got to get the black vote. So they get specialists who. And of course, I can imagine what must go through your minds.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody shows up, nice white lady, she says, I want to reach out to you people. She's dead already.
Yeah.
Because they're not saying, I'm here to talk to Americans. So that's why I wanted you to be an engagement chair.
Yep.
I didn't want anything in there to imply that we're not all the same.
Well, they didn't like the idea.
No, they didn't.
They didn't like the idea.
Yeah, I got you.
That's what happens
Me
when you.
too.
That's what happens when you put an outsider in charge for a while.
Yeah, I
A lot
know
of
that.
things
I know
happen.
that. Then they got rid of me too. They didn't.
Oh my God.
It took them a couple of years to get it.
Yeah, we had 2 years.
And there
We
are a
did
lot
stir it up. We stirred
of
it
fine
up.
people in that party trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
And in the Democrat Party, I think there are too.
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. They do the same.
But you
boat.
have to choose a party when you run,
Yep,
and
you
I've
got to
chosen the one
vote.
that's closer to my
Yeah,
views
right,
because
right.
I think they're a little closer. But it's a problem because most people want to do the right thing.
Yeah, right.
But self-interested people who are unscrupulous
Right.
and willing to lie without
Oh, yeah.
compunction
Oh, yeah.
can confuse things a lot, and they do.
Yeah. I like to clean out that swamp too.
Oh, that's very, very true.
Especially on minorities.
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh, I believe it.
No matter who's doing it, it's fun to watch.
That's right. That's right. Go on, Cecil. I'm sorry about that. Go
My
on.
question was, this right here,
Yeah.
you don't advertise, is that what you're saying?
Well, this is, no, I can advertise. This is an advertisement. It's published in a scientific journal.
Okay.
So all the scientists can read it. And the industrialists who might apply it and deliver it to
and then
people
take it
can
over. I
read it.
got you.
Everyone can read it. It's public property.
Okay.
Right.
But we can't make a measurement on someone and tell them what we found,
That's why you can't do
because that's controlled by the bureaucrats.
Okay.
And unless you pay huge amounts of money, you can't even get them to consider letting it be applied.
But
So we would be in trouble if we told people, please send us a urine sample if we see something about you
We'll tell you.
that you need to know.
But can people request to
No,
sit-
do it.
No, if we did that, they would say we are using unapproved procedures to do medical work.
Imagine them pharmaceuticals. They'd be out of business.
Oh, I hear you.
I
That's
don't say
another
that.
part of
There
the
must
government
be
that's going
some
awry.
kind of
you
way
see.
to-
Medicine is very important, very
Yes.
valuable.
Oh, yes, very important.
But why does it take 20% of the money of the earnings of American people?
Right.
It takes 20% because about 2/3 of it has to go to the lawyers and the bureaucrats and the administrators and the huge apparatus that has been built to feed
That's
on
a
medicine.
huge piece of it.
When my grandson had appendicitis, they took his appendix out. $30,000 to take his appendix out. Do you think the surgeon got $30,000?
No.
By the time you finish, the surgeon, the nurse, the hospital, and the room, and all this stuff
Sure.
couldn't have cost more than $3,000 or $4,000. The rest went to the administrative state,
Jeez.
to the federal bureaucrats, to the bureaucrats the hospital had to hire to deal with those bureaucrats,
Wow.
to the lawyers who are running around trying to catch a doctor and making some mistake. And by the time you're done, it's a $30,000, and with no complication, appendectomy, $30,000.
Wow.
Well,
And-
how can we get around all these possible suits? Because
Drain the swamp.
yeah, that's
Gotta get him elected.
well, let's talk about getting you elected.
That's a good idea no matter who you are.
Yeah, right.
That
right,
should
right,
be,
Right. Well, that's the problem we're having now.
that should be bipartisan.
Yeah, but bipartisan, big time. And another point I was going to add. Now, how long has DeFazio been in office?
Oh, 35 years.
35 years.
I
as a
think,
representative.
approximately.
35 years. That's been another area that's been a kind of a toughie. No
Well-
one wants to talk about term limits.
Okay.
No one wants to talk
Term
about
limits should have been, it should be done.
Yes.
It should be done. You can put up campaign signs,
Right.
advertising things. Put one up that says term limits, and everybody wants one.
Gee
The
whiz.
public want term limits.
Yes, they want.
But the politicians have managed to keep it from happening.
Gee whiz.
No, that's
It's really a sad note.
that's crazy.
Well, Art, thank you. I mean, anything else you want to? He's going to be back
To
here.
tell you
now.
why term limits are so important,
Okay.
once the guy decides that being a politician is his career, then he puts himself ahead of the voter.
Ah.
If it's not a career, he wants to be well thought of, he wants to do a good job, and then maybe go home. But when they go to Washington and they stay, pretty soon their career is more important than the public, and that's why they start to do these unprincipled things.
Yeah, right.
So
That's
if it's a
fact.
short stay, it wouldn't happen. The only guy that, but occasionally there are exceptions. Davy Crockett served 2 terms and quit. He should have stayed. He wouldn't have been at the Alamo.
That's true. That's true.
But that's an exception.
I understand. Well, Cecil, you got any more questions? 'Cause I'm gonna get him on my other show. The other
Well,
show
I
here.
know you guys are going to start your other show up, and I'm really happy you came today.
Well, thank you for the privilege, sir.
Thank you
I
for
really
coming.
enjoyed coming.
And Brother Broussard,
Oh, it's always a
very
pleasure.
happy.
Yeah,
It's always a
I'll be here.
pleasure.
I'll be here the next time. I guess we're gonna be closed. I guess until about the next January, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Right.
But you're 100% welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
DeFazio can come on back too. He can come back.
Then you could definitely get DeFazio
Tell
here.
DeFazio.
Let DeFazio come on the show.
Oh, I'd be loved. That'd be wonderful.
So you gentlemen can have a real debate about
There you go.
about things that are very important to all
Yes.
citizens.
Right.
He might be a tough guy. I mean, I don't know. I mean, let's have
It
him on.
don't make no difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's have him on,
If
right?
he's tough, bring him.
You keep asking. Nobody's
Yeah.
succeeded, but keep asking.
Yes, yes.
We're gonna call him, right?
Yeah, we'll give him a call.
Good.
Thank you very much, buddy.
Okay, please come
Thank
back.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you again. Again, I'm very happy you came. Okay.
And
We'll
that's
see you
your-
guys
that's your piece.
soon. Okay. And thank you for reading this right here, and I'll speak on it some more.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
You gentlemen have a blessed night.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Okay. See you later. I'm looking forward to you coming back. Okay. And all you people out there in TV land, I'm looking forward to dealing with all you wonderful people out there in TV land. We've had some wonderful people here today, Brother Broussard, and this other wonderful gentleman that was just here a moment ago, and he was very enlightened and very knowledgeable, and sharing really blessed information. And I'm hoping that he'll come back very soon and come back and debate with DeFazio, because he wants that job. And he's a very astute individual. He's raised his children, and his wife passed, but he had raised his children, and they got college degrees and great jobs, and I'm just very pleased with him. And he's a man of principles, and hopefully he'll move your principles forward. And trying to help people deal with sickle cells and all these other kind of illnesses that we have as human beings. So this is very important. So all you people out there in TV land, I'm looking forward to having you here at Hopeful Community for Justice to speak on issues, and you're welcome to come and speak on the issues, especially when it comes to the articles in the paper. And this brother that was supposed to be trying to talk to this sister, and the Portland Tribune did a real nice article on their bad behavior when the gentleman went to court. I think it was on page 3 or page 4, and his picture is up. And he went to her home and was had a very uncomfortable, and his behavior was less than exemplary, and she just was totally uncomfortable with him coming visiting. He took it for granted that he was doing what was right as far as he was concerned, because that's what his mindset was. But hers was, look, you're going too far, and you need to cease and desist in your behavior. And the joy was of wanting him to cease and desist in his behavior. And he went to her, came to her home unannounced, invited his own self in, and was trying to make her life very uncomfortable, very difficult. And she made an issue of it. So I'm telling all you people out there in TV land, if people are acting a fool or doing evil things to other people or forcing your ways upon people, that you're gonna have to reap what you sow. And Hopeful Community for Justice is gonna get the information out there. And if you're in the paper or Portland Tribune, or write it, because the Portland Observer and the Scanner didn't want to carry it. And so the Portland Tribune carried it and researched the information, and that's what we had. That for all you people out there in TV land is what we're looking at, these articles right now. So I'm just saying, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth is out. And if you think somebody's not being truthful about you, then you're welcome to come on Po4 Community for Justice and make issue of whatever issue that the people are trying to carry. So stay strong, stay blessed, stay focused. It's all about playing to win, and that's what life is really all about. So that's what I'm saying to you people out there in TV land. This gentleman that made all these beautiful statements and all about all the great things he's doing, he's going on Brother Broussard's show, and that'll be showing in just a few minutes. And that's an hour show, but he'll be speaking on all the issues that are relevant to all you people out there in TV land. And we spoke on the people at Urban League about because a lot of aged people, they need to put in urine samples and doing other great things, because down the road, maybe we could save them from having a heart attack or dying or things of this nature, and I would love that to benefit them. So I'm hoping that they'll be fortunate enough to benefit from that information or knowledge that he has. He's been doing it since the 60s, so I'm just letting you people out there know that we got some very interesting guests on Po4 Community for Justice that really want to speak to you from their heart and tell you about some very fabulous information and get things done, because that's what life is all about. It's all about playing to win. I like those designs, look like Christmas bulbs and things like that are on television right now. So thank you very much, Sister Allie. I think that's very beautiful. And Brother Ron, you guys got some magnificent things going. Cornita and Cecil, yeah, I guess they left because I don't see them. But they were here to help me set the studio up and get things squared away. But you people stay strong, stay focused. Sister Allie's great about enlightening people on what to do as professionals and how to perform certain functions and get things accomplished. How you doing, Brother Ron? What, 10 minutes? Thank you very much. Okay. So we only got 10 more minutes to go, and we'll be done. And I want all you people out there in TV land to know that we're on YouTube right now. So if you didn't get a chance to see it on Channel 11, we're on YouTube. So you can look at the show on YouTube. I encourage you to do so, and I encourage you to come on the show and speak to whatever matter that you think are pertinent to you and to your situation. And I talked to people about last week, a couple of young ladies which were black had came here to the studio and had some gorgeous children or newborn babies, and I was inviting them on the show saying your children can be on the air as well. And I'm just telling you from the heart, because if you come and occupy the seats, they're not going to be disruptive or horrible. They're going to just be just like children will be, obedient children to their parents and doing what's right and just. And everyone can benefit from the knowledge and love and affection from the parents. So please don't feel like oh, I would come on the show, but one day my kids get older and I'll be able to come on as a parent. But don't let yourself be fooled or tricked or scammed. You know, put your children on the show with you, and hopefully they'll surprise you, do some great things. That's what's going on. Again, I got the Portland Tribune, and I turned it around, and I'll just show it on TV. And if I had set my Elmo up, if I knew Brother Broussard would bring this here, I would have set the Elmo up and you could read the article yourself and all the pertinent information. Like I was saying, is that he was accused of bad behavior because he was demonstrating bad behavior. And then he was trying to clean it up, but he was fumbling over his tongue or whatever the case may be, is because he wasn't getting his point across because he was pressing the situation and going over and beyond the level that he should be going on. When people don't want nothing to do with it, you just cease and desist, not keep pushing the issue and keep making it worse and worse, because that just makes things bad for everyone. And I just hope it gets better for him. So anyway, I was going to speak on the Ocwen, Millennium, and the U.S. Bank, because I'm planning to bring charges against that organizations, or against those organizations, and people are trying to milk me for information as if they're just trying to ask some broad-minded questions when they really are just really trying to prepare themselves for all the lies or misinformation they're trying to feed other people. I've been on my property for many, many years, but people are trying to treat it like, somehow they want me to treat it like I just bought the property yesterday or something like that, which is crazy. Or for a second and third mortgage or something of that case, which is stupid and ridiculous because I don't take out second and third mortgages or nothing, anything like that. On my property, if I can get a line of credit and I can benefit from it, I would have loved to have done that. And that's why I tell a lot of people when I invite them on the show, you need to bring your issues forward because you're trying to get issues straightened out or resolved regarding lines of credit, because these behaviors are illegal, and I want to legalize these matters. And Millennium, it did a bunch of really evil, wicked things, and then people try to act like, well, I'm trying to get you another mortgage. What would I need another mortgage for? I already own the property. What would I need to refinance my property again for? I was interested in getting a line of credit because my property has so much interest in it that I deserve to take advantage of a line of credit because I could have bought more property and even did better for myself, better for my family, did great things for my family. But people are trying to forecast it as if, no, somehow you didn't try to make a loan against the property that I already bought and paid for a long time ago. And I think that's ridiculous behavior. And so I'm trying to bring these people to court or to justice, but I've already talked to F.B.I. in the past, and I've already talked to the Portland police in the past, but nobody's getting up off their ass to do anything just or fair, because everybody just turned a blind eye to the reality of what's going on. How much time? 4 minutes? Thank you very much, Brother Ron. And so that's what I'm planning to do. And I'm going to continue to move forward. I know Brother Broussard spoke about he's got property that he's trying to protect and take care of. Because people done pulled all kind of stunts on Negro-colored black African Americans because we own a lot of property. Or that we're making payments on property again that we already own. And now they're trying to quadruple the payments as if that little kind of work. They know that black people will make the payments, because I'll continue to make these outlandish payments or these ridiculous payments, but I plan to sue these people for $16 billion. And I'm just waiting for somebody to move forward. And sometimes you have different white people will give you a phone call asking, are you interested in selling your property? I'm not interested in selling nothing. I'm not stuck on stupid. I'm interested in protecting what I have in my favor. It's like having property that you've owned over 40 years and you just desire to reap the benefits of what you own. And there's a lot of acreage there, and I plan to utilize or take advantage of the use of all the footage of what I own. So That's what's going on. So, but so many times people are thinking, well, maybe he'll drop dead or maybe something stupid will happen. You're always praying for the best and hoping for the best and wanting the best. But when you're trying to get people to come forward to get the best information available to you, people are trying to not do that. And they should try and help out because you're trying to get the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So I'm just saying, be honest, be truthful, be sincere. So I'll always talk about the value of property, the value of money. But I don't drink, smoke, or get loaded, so you can't try and say, well, he squandered his money because he's been drinking or getting loaded or using drugs. People know that's not true. Those are just the lies. When they put you in jail or put you in prison, they think, well, he did this or did that. That's just a big waste of time. And justice needs to be served and people need to be brought to justice. And people love to look at black folk like they're up to something, don't know what, but love to think there's got to be something going on. These just a bunch of white lies being told. And I just want black people to know to pay attention. Negro, colored, black, African Americans, to pay attention. You get worthless educations, you get worthless schooling, worthless everything, and it can be tracked down because you just grew up in a system that was worthless and didn't do nothing for you, didn't work in your favor, and then they try to pretend as if, oh, he reaped the benefits of all the schooling and education. I'm just saying, no, I paid attention to all the worthless schooling and education. I paid attention to all the misdirection, all the lies and the trickery, and just like they try to do O.J. Simpson. So I'm just saying, I'm just another human being that people try to take advantage of, and I just want justice to be served. So I want all you people out there in TV land, learn to be strong, learn to be truthful, and learn to be honest, and learn to love your family. And don't get yourself tricked into liquidating any and everything.